Because you should not poke a monkey with a grenade with a stick, let alone insane monkey with a nuclear arsenal. Fuck. Well, when I said the following fragment 4 days ago, I was sincerely hoping that I would be labeled as a drama queen, and that I was just simply wrong, but in today's situation, it's completely different story. Just like 4 days ago, the reason why I'm making this video is, after seeing what is currently happening in the world right now, I cannot make myself to edit and publish the great videos that I have actually shot over the last couple of days. I want to talk again about this situation, conflict, actually better said at this point, pure genocide of Ukrainian people. Yes, I'm going to say things that a lot of people don't dare to say, either not to escalate the current situation or because they're afraid for their safety, and people also things that people do not want to hear. And I know it's going to also cause me losing some friends, create maybe even some enemies to a certain extent without over dramatizing, because following my previous video I've received already quite some negativity towards my address from people that I used to call friends, saying that either well, I don't know shit, to those, fuck you, B, that it has to happen, again, fuck you even more, or people saying like, hey, if I would be closer to the source of information, I would understand. To which I would ask them, can you explain to me? No, because you will not be able to understand. In my regard, those people are just part of the problem, so to those, extra fuck you. Now, I want to give you some sort of a background first before we start talking about the current situation and my personal opinion on that. I'm not going to go into the background of the conflict, what has caused it. There is a very good video that I'm going to link in the video description that you can watch to find out what has happened. But actually, I want to give you my personal background, for starters. Not too long, but just like a quick info. A lot of people think that I am either German or Croatian because I used to work there at 3 months. Or today, actually, even someone called me Polish, probably because I have an M5 on the Polish plates. But actually, I was born in Russia, as mentioned also in the previous video, but when I was 11 years old, I escaped, moved to the Netherlands, and shortly after I got Dutch citizenship, and you could have seen on my videos over the last years, I always refer to myself as, when we talk about actually like citizenship, I refer to myself as Dutch, and since my conscious upbringing was in the Netherlands, I also refer to myself as Dutch citizen. And I've been racing under Dutch flag, etc., etc., but it's not important. What I want to say is that over the years, I haven't had much of a connection with Russia. My last time I was there was in 2018 to visit my dying father of cancer, whose death I am actually blaming partially to the religious beliefs, that saying that, well, God is going to help us and not the medical system, and also to the Russian medical system that is simply non-existent. And there were also some other occurrences in the past where I would be visiting my dad as a child, and one of the very interesting, vivid memories that I have is when I was 18 years old, I was detained once by military and almost abducted along with other young kids to go serve in the army, because this is something that is actually happening on the streets of Russia. It's a normal occurrence. The only thing that saved me was luckily my Dutch passport that I was carrying with me at the time. But unfortunately, the truck was already full of those kids who were forced to go serve in the army. The reason why I'm mentioning this is that you need to remember this for some of the upcoming facts that I'm going to mention. So far comes my personal background. As mentioned, I'm not going to go into the conflict itself, its background, but let's talk about the things that have happened shortly in the last 4 days. It would be a euphemism of a century of calling them bad things, some of them, because at first you had this peacekeeping mission, which resulted in civilians fleeing, becoming refugees, leaving their homes, their country with nothing and just escaping for their lives. Some of them were forced to stay or had to stay or just felt the necessity to stay and had to go into the improvised bomb shelters. You would see images of pregnant women giving birth in underground stations or again in bomb shelters, which was like at that point already 3 days ago, kind of fucked up, yeah. And as mentioned also at the beginning of this video, right now we are actually ready to speak about a freaking genocide because civilians are actually being targeted by rocket barrages. So yeah, things are quite bad. But in the face of bad things, lots of also good things have happened, although the reason for them happening is of course also bad. First of all, the very unthinkable, in the first place, unification and resistance from Ukrainian people, and now also the sanctions that are targeted at Russia, in particular Mr. Vladimir Putin. And also one small good thing that I would like to mention, although again, I don't feel any connection to Russia, but still, I think it's good that everyone realizes that it's not the Russian people who are behind this. Everyone is actually targeting Mr. Vladimir Putin for the things that are currently happening, and it's clearly targeted at him, but the sanctions are still aimed at the whole of Russia. And I'm going to give you my take on it, why it is currently happening. But first of all, the unthinkable resistance of the Ukrainian people that is happening. I definitely believe that no one from all the parties involved believed that the conflict would last this long and would actually escalate to the certain extent that we're talking at right now. I am on the certain belief that everyone thought that it's going to be a walk in the park for Russians, especially Russians thought that. That's going to be a similar situation like in 2014 with Crimea, that Ukrainian resistance, there might be some like small resistance, but overall everyone's going to drop their weapons and say like, okay, yeah, well, fine, here we are. We knew that it was going to come. And also all the other parties, current supporting parties, such as European Union, United States, and other countries, including Switzerland, since today. I mean, if you ever think that you fucked things up, don't worry. I mean, you cannot fuck up that badly that Switzerland decides to end its Swiss neutrality after, like, since forever. Right, where was I? Wandering a bit off. Yes, all the supporting parties didn't think that Ukraine would like put up such a big fight because otherwise they would probably supported it from the start, maybe, or they didn't want to escalate the conflict. But the reason for me to believe why Russia definitely thought that it was going to be a walk in the park is there is a very good source on the internet. It's called Wayback Machine that can backtrace every information that was published on the internet, uploaded. And one of the links that actually resurfaced today is that an article by RIA, the Russian whatever Interfax agency, the media agency, that was scheduled for publication on 26th of February, 2 days ago, that Ukraine has fallen and now the new world is starting, and with new Russia without any Western threats. I'm just going to link it in the video description, and you can call this conspiracy, you can call it anything, but it's there. It is there. Someone forgot to delete it off. Well, it was a big mistake of pre-uploading it because obviously it was quite a big article to write. Now, the other reason why I believe that Russia was not ready for it and why the conflict is really escalating now is they were thinking that it was going to be a walk in the park, as mentioned, and everyone would give up. But nope, here we are right now. And you can actually see that what should I say? You can see that things are going from bad to worse. Right now, they're not targeting military anymore, but actually civilians, as mentioned previously, with the rocket strikes, etc. Another very disturbing fact, and again, also confirming that none of the Russian people want this war, this conflict, this fucking bullshit, is that many of the first prisoners of war, they are saying that they had no clue. They are simply kids between 18 and 22 years old who were told that they're going to go on education, on some training, and then their phones were taken off, and then they had to go, they said, well, you have to go there. And they cannot simply say no, because they're forced into being it. If they're going to say no, then they're going to get killed by their officers. Something that was also happening in the past, in the Second World War, when Stalin gave the executional order. Why am I mentioning this? Because history seems to repeat itself. I think there was also a big miscalculation from the Russian forces that in the past, when they tried to like bring this feeling of patriotism, they always bring up the Battle of Stalingrad or now the Volgograd, how it was like really, really, really bad, multiple, like uncountable, immeasurable amount of casualties, but people would just like say, like, oh, fuck it, I'd rather die than fall to the enemy. And this is, I think, right now what is happening with Ukraine. They completely strong in favor of it with this mentality, and I think everyone is to an extent quite happy that it is happening, because now finally someone is putting up a fight, but no one expected it. And unfortunately, because of that, Russia is now turning towards like a psychological warfare, targeting civilians so they would give up, because they are now offering the biggest resistance. And this brings to like a very difficult situation, because they were expecting it to be a walk in the park, and now it's not. And are you going to continue killing civilians to reach your goal? Because again, you do not want to come out as a loser from whoever started this this conflict. And that's going to go from bad to worse, in my opinion, even from now on. Now let's talk quickly about the sanctions and my take on them, why they're happening. First of all, I find it, of course, extremely sad that Russian people have to suffer under them. But the reason why they're happening to such an enormous extent is that the Western world does not want to come with a military conflict, which will most likely, in my opinion, cause a nuclear warfare. I mentioned it 4 days ago, and I think that Mr. Putin is not afraid of pressing a button, something that he has actually openly exclaimed a few years ago, saying like, hey, what's the purpose of having a world if there is no world without Russia in it, and it is my duty to protect Russia. Right. So since military conflict is off the table, what other options are there? Why are there sanctions that are actually right now making the Russian economy implode, making everyone suffer? Athletes, movie stars, whoever, people with money who are able to travel abroad. And also its core citizens, like everyone, simply everyone is going to get fucked beyond imaginable. I think everyone understands right now is you cannot take Russia by force, because you do want to risk like nuclear warfare. Yeah, because that risk is simply on the table. The only thing you can do, it is, again, we're speaking about history repeating itself, is probably to cause a revolution, whether it is 1917 or 1991, 1994, a change of power, because citizens are just simply fucking fed up with everything that is happening, and it has to come from inside. And if there is also, like, everyone is suffering in this point, not just basic civilians who are willing to grab pitchforks, but also people close and really powerful people, because right now they're losing billions of not only money a day, but also all of their rights abroad, and who knows what's going to happen next. There might be like another revolution coming up. I think this is the only something that is leading to it. Again, as mentioned previously, I hope I'm completely wrong. I don't hope I'm completely wrong. What I'm certain of is that we're talking at this point, we are at a breaking point of no return. The world is definitely going to change. And as I'm editing this video, more and more news is coming in from various countries that urge their citizens to leave Russia while they still have the chance. And previously, when this happened in Afghanistan, in Ukraine, they were quite right that the shit is about to get down. And I hope it's going to be for the better with least casualties as possible. And I also hope that I'm definitely a drama queen and over-exaggerating and just making this video for sake of attention, how some people might say. But these are honestly my 2 cents on this situation. So yeah, let's hope things stay minimal, and let's hope I do not have to give any takes on it anymore, and we can continue with making car videos. But at this point, I simply cannot. I cannot. Right. Wishing you a good week ahead. See you soon.